Hi, folks. Welcome back. Today I spoke with Rebecca Ashby. She's an owner and designer. Her company is called Hope and Joy, and they make handcrafted and curated goods. You can check out her website. Anyway, we had a great conversation, and she is a member of the 530 camp, and those ladies and men are badasses. So here's our conversation. Hope you're having a good summer.
Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. I was gonna set up outside to like get out of my work zone,
Yeah.
and I was just set up and ready to log in, and my neighbors are like working. They're putting a huge addition on their house, and like
Oh,
they just started sawing something out. Okay, this is not gonna work.
oh my God. I have a neighbor who is a relentless mower. And my office is like my window in my office like looks out on his side of his house. And I would say to him, I was in grad school and I'd go out and I was in like doing like readings and I would be like, can you just for like 20 minutes not do that? Because everybody across the country can hear you.
Oh my gosh.
It was like every day. I mean, he's retired. So every day he's weeding or mowing or watering or what have you.
Oh my God. I mean, good that he wants a really nice
Oh my
curb.
God.
Holy cow.
It's like a sitcom. It's like I never understood that parallel of like why people looked over the fence at what was happening. But he's like I and my husband and I like he like weed whacks our yard, my neighbor.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean it's like I'll like hit the deck. I'm like, is he out there? Like what's happening? He just has a lot of time on his hands.
Oh my God, I love it.
So hi. Have
Hi.
we ever met before?
I no.
I mean, I recognize your face, so I probably have like been in a room with you.
So I'm usually 5:30 a.m., but most Saturdays, I haven't been in quite a few Saturdays though, if I'm being honest, just because I have a couple injuries right now. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to go. But maybe that's where we've met because you
What are
definitely
your
look
injuries? Because I have a back thing that's kept me out for like over a week now.
shoot. So I have a really bad knee. My orthopedic put me, I think I've been modding leg day and a lot of things for almost 2 years now. I basically have
Mm.
all the cartilage behind my knee.
I-
And so bone on bone. So it's been really good since modding. He just doesn't want me to have surgery. So I can't squat, I can't lunge. There's so many exercises that bother it. Even like when we do hamstrings on the ball and one
Yeah.
leg has up and you're pushing out, it's like too much pressure on my knee. So I have to mod quite a bit. I have arthritis in this wrist.
Yeah.
So that's not as bad. But right now I have plantar fasciitis. So I'm not able to jump. I'm on strict like no jump, no high impact.
Oh my God, you're such a badass. I mean, I was feeling sorry for myself. I mean, like a back, I had like tension, but every time because of the tension in my shoulder, it was great when I worked out. But my lower back, um, I couldn't breathe. So it was like an impossible, it felt like I was burning or something. And it's now since it's stopped, but it required rest, which I find really hard. I couldn't picture how I couldn't picture, I know it just takes a conversation with someone, but I couldn't picture how I would mod that. I was like,
So have you been to a chiropractor?
I haven't yet because it ceased and I was doing stretches that I, saw online that were helpful and hot showers and then cold. And I talked to Alyssa about it. Um, but really it came from my joy of softball. Have been playing on the softball team.
Oh, fun.
And so the first year I had like no problem with it. And then I was trying to, this one day, we had like a really intense class that morning. And then I was really trying to hit the ball harder which meant that I was like overextending myself a great deal in like the swing area. I just wasn't doing it correctly. And so I think I just pulled, like injured myself.
Ryan Bronze. It's Ryan Bronze.
That's my husband. I think I injured myself, so I just had to like let it go, but then I couldn't stop going because I was like relentless. So I made myself like take a week off and not do stuff around my house in the same way, and it helped.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
I did, this was a handful of months ago. I remember doing, I think we had something where there was like so many push-ups. And I literally, on one of my last push-ups, I
Oh,
feel myself losing form, and I could hear and feel my back. And I was like, I tried to mod, I tried to do all the things for probably 6 weeks, and it just wasn't getting better. So, and I'd never been to a chiropractor. So I found one that came highly recommended. She's in Westport. I've been going to her monthly now. Oh my gosh. It's
okay.
incredible. I never knew like back stuff, like a chiropractor in general, to be self-care. I'm like, who would have thought? I just thought you went when there was something wrong. But she does cupping, she'll do acupuncture.
Really?
Yes, I said to her, I just went this week on Monday, and I was like, can you help me out with my hip flexor? And she did like a couple things, and I haven't had pain in my hip flexor all week. So she cracks my neck, but she really focuses on my back. And I like it, same like you. I couldn't do shit for
Yeah.
a without it hurting and burning, and like even driving in the car, I had to like
Yeah.
get my in a certain way.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna need her name.
I will give you her name.
I
Oh my God,
appreciate it.
incredible. She drops a lot of F-bombs, which I don't care. Some people like
I'm a
us.
big fan of F-bombs. So
I sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, and you gotta say what you gotta say.
I like the honesty. I'll take the, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So what brought you to Burn? Like, what was your, how long have you been going? You're in the, like, what I consider the club scene. Cause I showed up one day at 5:30 and I was like, I was so proud. I had woken up early. Like I wake up early, I write. So I woke up usually early, right? But I obviously woken up extraordinarily early. And I was like, oh my God, I can go to 5:30. And I walked in and then I was like, nope. I was so many people. I was overwhelming.
Oh. Yeah, 5:30 is a really hardcore badass crew, but don't be intimidated because
Yeah.
we're also a lot of fun. And you know what I think it is, 5:30, because I used to, when I first joined, so I would call myself an OGer because
Yeah.
I joined March of 2018. So when she first opened. And I used to go at 9:30, which in comparison felt like coffee club. Like I was there with all my girlfriends, and we were like hanging out, dropping the kids off at school, and like going to work out.
Yeah.
Never challenged myself with weights. I just did it because I loved going with my friends, and I loved the environment there. Right.
Yeah.
And then I started like randomly taking a few early morning classes just because I was getting busier with my job. And I was like, you know what? I need to get this out of the way first thing. And I really liked it. But then shortly thereafter, like lockdown hit. And so we were all doing all workouts from home. So when we moved to Fairfield in 2017, we moved from White Plains, and I had been at this amazing gym. It was a dozen people max. It was a burn / CrossFit type class. And I loved everything about it. And so when we moved here, Burn wasn't open. So I was researching all the gyms within a radius.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is such a bummer. Like there was nothing affordable.
Yeah.
That fit the class of what I imagined my workout life to be like. And so I did join a different gym, and I had fun. I loved the people I worked out with, but there wasn't really flexibility. I could only go with the one time of day. And so like every Tuesday was this class, and every Wednesday I got so incredibly bored.
Yeah.
And so that was in August, and then Burn opens, and I went for the 2-week trial, and I was like, oh my God, I'm addicted. And so I came home and I told my husband, and he's like, you're going to join another gym? And I was like, yeah, because my contract wasn't up until August. So
Yeah.
this is how much I love Burn. I was paying for 2 gyms and not even going to the one because I was so bored with the workout.
I think that's so interesting. It's only in like figuring it out through this podcast that I realize why the scariness of walking in and being unaware of what was going to happen when I was there, that thrill was like, is part of the reason I go.
Yes.
You know? Like I go because I don't feel like, I feel like somebody is challenging me and they're giving me an opportunity to experience something I didn't know I was going to experience that day. Like I'm not, even when they say it's like every leg day is different and every arm day is different. So you can't walk in there and assume that you have control. Like you just have to be in the moment and trust yourself and try. And I think people get really intimidated by the sights that they see. I know I did, like when people with, you know, ropes and like hanging upside down or whatever, like all the stuff. I was like, this is not for me. But when you're in there, it's so much more practical. Like everybody's doing it and you sort of go around and do your version of it. As long as I can get in the door, as long as I'm not like, this past week has been hard, but like, usually it's like, I just get dressed and go and I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes second nature. And I think, so right before, so wait, what date? Let me think for a second. So December of 2020-ish, in that time frame. So yeah, I'd been a member for like a year and a half. And so that December, we had started having my son be tested for, we weren't sure what, we just knew something was up. And we went to Yale Child Study Program. And so we ended up with this very long, intense diagnosis from them and then a psychiatrist. And that all flowed into, in fact, some of the study program that we were still in was happening at the onset of COVID.
Yeah.
And so we Zoom calls with some of the doctors. And then I started therapy. It was kind of this joint thing with my son and me. And we were doing that over Zoom. And so when Alyssa said that they were going to stream all the workouts, sorry, this makes me cry.
Yeah, I want to know.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I think there's like a day that like I don't feel some sort of emotion for my son.
Yeah. How old is he?
So he's 13.
Yeah.
And so he had a really rough diagnosis, social anxiety and ADHD and OCD and a mood disorder.
Yeah.
And it's this whole charcuterie of shit, actually, that just makes life fucking hard.
Yeah.
When Alyssa said that she was streaming, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this every day now. And it honestly became part of my therapy.
Yeah.
Because at the time, I couldn't even go start to see a therapist. And I was like really super broken about it all. I think like my son's adopted. And so my husband and I grieved not being able to conceive, but then also to be hit with this, that, you know, we both carry his emotion and this diagnosis, and my child does, you know, he knows he's different in that respect. And so I couldn't find or go to a therapist. And I'm a very much like, I need to talk to somebody in person. Yeah. So Burn my therapy every day at 6 a.m. I was in the living room. And that was when I really started going 5 and then 6 days a week, because she was streaming on Saturdays too. And when we finally started going back in person, I felt so different. I was always in the back of the gym, back in person, like with my coffee crew. When we started going back in person, I moved up front because it became this different type of workout for me. And I needed to just be right there, with the trainer.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just the thing. And that's like, quote unquote, my space now. And I think the hardest thing, and so for now, the past handful of years, I've hit over 250 classes. But this year has been like very pivotal too, because while now I've been in therapy and my son, and we're on this good road for him. Now I hit 50
Yeah.
and they're starting to go wrong with my body.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's so true, right? They're like, oh, wait, to turn 50. I'm like, oh my God, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Like,
Yeah.
this is just, every day, every month, whatever, something different is happening with my body. And so I'm really learning to listen to it. I don't want to become this broken old woman. I just want to be a strong woman that can still function. And that's what I love about Burn too, is that there's mods. I don't have to feel like I don't have to go. Maybe I'm slower than I used to. Actually, not even maybe. I'm 100% slower, but I'm still in a place where I can get up and go, and I want to work out there. I've met so many great friends there, that I can't imagine not,
I think the age range there is what inspires me, quite
Yes.
honestly. I mean, because I'm like, you want to be in a room with people that you want to be like,
Mhm. Yeah.
so, and it's true. I think, the more, I mean, what I love about hearing your story or hear you share about it is that, we all are like private and public in that space. And just knowing separate of your son stuff, like knowing that you have these physical, just today, hearing that you had physical hiccups that you're working through actively. See, I was shying away from that due to my ego, of not wanting to go in there and give it my all. Right.
Yes.
But I think that knowing that, there is a workaround, and a way of still participating. And I think that's what's nice to hear about what you were saying about your son. It's always like small steps that get you, through the anxiety of either
Yes.
going to the gym, or like I always say, I just put my shoes on and get dressed. But, like showing up, like doing the one thing you had control of during COVID, which was your body and getting physically stronger. I'm not surprised it helped you emotionally navigate something else, because it was an achievement.
Yeah.
It didn't feel and probably directly related, but it is, they say, I mean, I remember when I was depressed, I very quickly learned that going into a schedule and a structure and going and getting physically fit was something I could do without, without a lot of effort. I mean, yeah, it's hard to get out of the house sometimes, but, I could do it and then feel the reward of like, I did something,
Well, it's that, and it's like, let's face it, it's the positive endorphins, and
Yes.
that's such fuel for me. My son did not ask to have a diagnosis. He didn't, he struggles, but he doesn't know he's struggling necessarily. He thinks what he does and his coping mechanisms are all quote unquote normal. And so for me as a parent, my husband and I give 200%. Like, that's not somewhere, it's not an option to fail as his parent. It's not an option to emotionally step back, even when it's hard and dark. And so I ended up in a place where I had to go on anti-anxiety and antidepressants. And I will tell you that the work, like physically, through Burn, through exercise, through like that release, like I love when the trainers are like, oh my God, slam a med ball, it's free therapy. But I've now come to the point where the past 2 months, I was able to wean off my medicine, and I feel so good, because it wasn't like a lifelong goal that I wanted those medicines as crutches.
Yeah.
I know that I needed help kind of getting back on track and fixing what, I was hit with a ton of bricks. And
does your son work out? Does he?
he He does. He just started in the past year and he loves it. And honestly, I also think that he learned a lot of it from me. And I tell him, I'm like, when I'm stressed, and he's so funny because he'll work out, shower, and then go down and work out again in the basement. I'm like, okay, if this is what you need to do, but I don't stop him. Like, he knows, he's learned from his football coaches what to do and the proper way to lift. And I hear him on the punching bag, and it is so good for him.
I mean, it's so funny because we forget, like I definitely, it makes me giggle because I was not like sporty spice. So the fact that my kids come to like the softball games or know or assuming I'm at Burn, like I remember pulling out into the park, like walking out. I always walk out disoriented because I'm like, where's my car? What's my name? You know, like it's always a challenge to find my car. Anyway, and I look and I see my 13-year-old, like, mind you, it's a school day. I'm like, what is he doing? And he's like, I need a ride. And I was like, excuse me, like you were supposed to be on the bus. And like, so, but he walked to Burn, and it was like, I thought to myself, like, that's hilarious. Like, and also kind of, I mean, I feel great pride over the fact that I also just like my body. I like my body more now, and not just because it looks better, but I feel in it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand, even with the back pain, like I am just much more, it isn't, I don't know, it's just something I'm taking, and maybe it is, getting older that I'm taking it into account, but like, I think that's having an awareness of your body comes when you take care of it,
Yeah, I agree. And I think with the age piece of it, it's strange because you think, like, I've always said age is just a number. You're not old, you feel old. And I never have felt old, not the 50s old, but
yeah.
When I turned 50, it became like such this mental piece for me that, oh my gosh, I'm like what when I was younger. Oh my God, my aunt is so old. She's 50. Or now I'm like, wow, now my parents must really feel old. And it's such like a different, I don't know. I think when you get there and you realize half your life is over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that you really need to go like full speed taking care of it. But then I also feel like I'm 50 and life is just beginning in a certain way because I'm so over bullshit. I'm so over toxic.
Well, you wouldn't sacrifice the time that you've already spent. I mean, look at what, your son is 13 and working through a lot and acquiring tools that he's going to use for all of his years. So I look at my son who's 13, happens to be 13 too. And I think I have to let him experience what this is. Like I'm going to say, oh, you should go do this or you should do that. And my husband and I are balancing that constantly. But part of me is like, it's okay if he doesn't know. And it's okay if my way isn't the highway, like, I don't know, like part of me, because I feel so different now than I did when I was his age about everything. And that's just because I've lived this long. And all the, I don't know. I think I agree with you. I think every stage, my dad is 93.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah. And I just went last night to play poker with him and his friends. I do it like once a week. And it's incredible to sit. I'm sitting with like one of the guys was the head of like Westport Phys Ed for years and years. Another one like ran like, but my point, when I sit with them, I'm like, I would not have sat with them if we were the same age. Because I'm an artist and they're, in sports, and we would not be playing poker together, most likely, and now I'm sitting with them and it's like, we're just looking at each other as people, not as careers.
Right.
We're literally just how we play poker, it's super fun. And my dad, it's like fun to see him and that like boyish side of him with his buddies, as opposed to being my dad, it's like all those.
Yeah. Oh, bless his heart. I love that. But this is also interesting too, when you say like career, and we're just people, that's what burn is too.
Yeah.
So like there's so many people, women, men of different ages. And then when you're in that space, and especially like partner workouts or
Yeah,
group
I
work,
bet. Yeah.
it doesn't even matter.
I mean, that's the part I love is like I used to like, it was very funny. I realized for a long time I was working out with the wife of the man who owns Olay. And my son was like during COVID, Olay like saved my children. Like they would go there after school, you know, they would go there after whatever, you know, they did the COVID like camps there so that like they would do their homework with them. It was all set up. And I was working out, you know, the next year I was working out with his wife for a long time. And it was like just hilarious where I was like, oh my God, she's my like partner in crime at where, you know, and I think of like the impact on those days that when you're with every time, it's always someone new for me. I didn't show up. I mean, I do have friends, other moms that encouraged me to go, but when I go, it's just me going and I'm a part of this group of people and we're all trying to achieve the experience of that exercise that day. But I do feel both connected and anonymous, both, which I love for me. And it's, you know, and the connecting tissue is really the trainers, you know,
Yeah.
like they're sort of like not like witnessing you doing it and your growth and acknowledging you. What's your hardest exercise or what do you like aspire to?
Well, some of my hardest exercises I can't even do anymore.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite hard exercises was toes to bar
Oh, yeah.
because I'm so tall too.
Yeah.
So a couple of my friends would always chuckle that how much like body I had to lift up, but the orthopedic said no more to that. So that's kind of a bummer because it was always one of those things like I got to do this, I got to do this. And also chin ups and pull ups.
Yeah.
It's just really hard on my wrists.
Yeah.
I was always a goal to do them unassisted. And I don't think I ever really got there, but it's fine because it's just as hard with the rubber bands and I need to preserve my wrist.
It's so interesting because mine are so much more basic. I'm like, I can't jump rope to save my life. And I am still trying to nail the push-up.
Oh, got it.
Like the other ones, I think there, you know, there are like the box jump I learned, Katinka showed me how to do, and I'm getting better at them. I mean, I can do them now, which is extraordinary. I mean, now it's like, there's no turning back, but there could be turning back with hips. But yeah, like for me, it's like, you know, the challenge is like every time doing the correct it just really bothers me that my whole life we were taught how to do them the wrong way. And now I have to like retrain my body, you know? But yeah, so those are the ones that I like. The jumping rope, I am getting better. It's like watching hair grow though. That's something I have to work on every day and I won't because it's just humiliating.
Is it just like a standard jump rope that's tricky or double unders?
Double unders, the whole thing.
Oh.
It's almost comical. And I remember on my way to burn the first day, I looked at Jackie, who I was going with, and I was like, don't you dare make me pick up a jump rope. Like it's not my skill set. And then of course, like there seemed to be a lot more jumping rope in that early few months. And now but when we do it now, I now know I pick a spot on the ceiling and I look at it and I'm better at it. But the double unders, I mean, I don't know where you guys come from. Like I was like, I wasn't fit danced or I seem semi-coordinated. I don't know what it is. I'm getting better at it. It's not as humiliating, but I always laugh when it's happening because I'm like, oh yeah, everybody watch, like just hitting my head.
Up and stuck under a shoe or something.
Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I think maybe 5 I got to, but it's the way I do them that is really hard on my knees. So I don't even try them anymore. It's just not worth it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
I just love that you go within your own structure. I mean, that's like, you know, that's a great achievement because I think we talk ourselves out of things that are good for us a lot sometimes because there are small obstacles involved, you know, and
Yeah.
like it inspires me. Like I don't want to, you know, there's no reason, there's a way of accommodating it to still get the reward, you know?
Totally. And I look at it as, well, first, circling back, it's my therapy.
Yeah.
So even if I'm not talkative, even if I'm grumpy, even if like I've woken up with a resting bitch face,
Yeah.
I go because I feel like it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
You know, it drove me nuts. I forget what day it was this week, and I had to not do jumping because I can't. The orthopedic is like absolutely no jumping or high impact with my
Yeah.
foot range. And that is, you know, that's a bummer. But I feel like even if I do a walk instead, which is
Yeah.
what I've been doing a lot of, the strength days though, you know, it's all just a little bit. Even if, do you set your clothes out at night too?
Yes, I generally do because I try to go, I used to do, I think I did 9:30. I think maybe it was 8:30 because Holland Hill starts earlier. So I was doing like 8:30 classes and then I started going 6:30 or 7:30.
Got it.
And 7:30 is pretty quiet because that's like the juxtaposition hour where like everybody is either going to work or dropping kids off. It's like so it's like, it's funny. It's a quieter time. I always feel like there are less people, but it has this great sort of ensemble feel where you feel like you're working as a unit, which doesn't always happen when there are so many people. You know, you feel like a entity.
Yes, that's probably where I've seen you then, because I've done plenty of 7:30s.
Yes.
And it's probably one of my favorite hours, to be honest, in
Yeah.
addition to 30, because
So different.
very vibe you said. And I love if we're rotating, we all start together.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a rare occasion though. I think once Parker, my son, starts high school, I'll be able to go to 7:30.
Yeah.
But now it's
So he
5:30.
plays football. He plays football.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's so good for him. All of it. He loves it.
That's great. And what do you do for business?
So I have an Etsy store and an online store. I focus on personalized goods,
Awesome.
all monogram personalized goods, embroidery. And then my mission is I donate a portion of my profits each month to either Child Mind Institute, which is a not-for-profit that focuses on mental health in children nationwide, or Help Us Adopt in the city. My friend Becky has this amazing non-for-profit where she gives grants to families in waiting. Now she's up to $30,000 grants. It used to only be 15,000, but she's been able to Help Us Adopt is 11 years old. And over the past 11 years, the amount of donors and sponsors has grown incredibly, but so have the amount of people that are looking for help. I mean, when we adopted Parker, so he's 13, so it was about 15 years ago that we started the process, and it was a shit ton of money. And he domestic adoption. So I can't even imagine what costs are now. So it's really rewarding to be able to help that cause, because there's people that won't adopt simply because the cost is so scary.
Yeah. My brother was adopted. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. My parents lost their first child to crib death. SIDS and so then after 6 weeks, and then it's sort of, he was a domestic adoption, but it was actually, it's a very intense story that we won't get into here, but it was, and then he was adopted in February. My sister was born the following August. I was born the following October. But I was always raised with an awareness of adoption because I gifted me and my brother. And I knew, you know, it was always very interesting to me. Later in life, we ended up meeting his biological group and family and his mother. And there was a very sort of unique situation, but I don't know. It was, for me, my vantage point was it sort of made him a celebrity in our house a little bit. It's interesting. It was never as I've seen it perceived sometimes. It was in our house. He was like the main attraction often, mostly because he was very like, he was just he was attractive, quiet, like, you know, he's a fireman and Marine and sort of like not like me at all. So he was a big compliment. I always found he was like, you know, exactly what I needed. Yeah.
That's really cool. Are you religious, spiritual at all?
I am working on it. I I do believe in like I try to, it makes me feel better to think that everything has a purpose, even if it's a reason, I'm not sure, but a purpose I definitely believe in. And I do believe that he um was brought to us for us, you know, I do.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Yeah. I think about that all the time with my son and the struggles. And I've so often asked myself why, like why we struggle to get pregnant. And then oh my God, the adoption process took forever and we waited forever. And now this, and I'm like, I'm going to stop asking myself that question and
Yeah.
just be, no, this is the exact baby that God brought to us. And these are the exact reasons why. And I think a lot of it has to do with finding internal strength, both physically and mentally, that I don't even think I knew existed.
Yeah.
And just made me be so much more open-minded to people that are unique, people that are slightly different, but then instilling that in my son as well, like having him own his personality and marching to the beat of his own drum. He's away at sleepaway camp. We pick him up Saturday. He's been gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I never in a million years would have guessed that this is something that a child with high anxiety
Yeah.
would do.
Yeah.
And he did it. He did it. And I'm so proud of him.
I mean, yeah, we just, one son just came home this week from like a 2-week adventure away camp, 13. He did that too. And that was incredible and took some kicking and screaming for him to commit this year because he's going through that social desire, you know, need.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things where you can't, I don't know. I look at my kids and, you know, they are not adopted, but we still put a lot of expectations and wonder on why they are the way they are, you know, like,
Mom
you
and
know,
Dad's-
like I think it's just as parents because we're trying to control the uncontrollable,
Yeah.
you know, and I think children are that, and you love them so much and you really want them, you want what's best for them. And sometimes what's best for them is not always the easiest path.
Right. Right. I would agree. And I think it's been harder on me than it actually has been him.
Yeah.
Because he and I have grown together a lot, both emotionally and mentally, because my husband is incredibly busy with work. And so 9 times out of 10, I'm the one taking him to therapy, going to therapy, listening to all the podcasts, and then regurgitating my husband.
Yeah.
And so he and I, you know, walking through this journey together, it's really special too.
You're learning to live together. It's like, yeah. I mean, I feel, you know, I'm not in the exact same situation you are in, but I feel the exact same sensation growing up and with my kids. And I think, again, that's totally identifiable, you know, and life is life. Stuff happens to all of us in varying, you know, and I think, you know, putting the emphasis, get any opportunity for relief, whether it be working out, a walk, you know, a show, whatever, like anything that can release the pressure of that moment, you know, or stop us from thinking we have total control over things that we do not have control over, you know?
Yeah, I've definitely had to let go of a lot. I'd like to call myself a recovering perfectionist.
Yeah.
because especially in the early years, I mean, he's going into 8th now. He was in 3rd when all this happened. And so that's a huge maturity growth span.
Yeah.
I had to let go. I just had to trust in the unexpected and let go because he's like a box of chocolates, or used to be. I never knew what I was going to get. Literally. And a lot of times now my husband and I say, it's like walking on eggshells, because if something clicks, if something, it all rolls together, this stuff happening in his brain. And I just have to know that I have to be ready to pivot.
Yeah.
And
But
moment.
now you
And
have tools. It feels probably less disarming.
yes.
What's the name of your business so that people can go to it if they listen and are interested?
Oh, so sweet. It's called Hope and Joy.
Well, there you go.
It's that my products bring joy to those.
So is
And
it hopeandjoy.com or .net?
hopeandjoy.com is the URL. And then also the joy of getting a gift brings hope to those in need.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it was so nice to meet you.
So good to talk to you. Thank you so much.
And I can't wait to see you at 7:30s.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Give me a year, or maybe I'll sprinkle some in this summer too.
I just really appreciate hearing about, your physical challenges and your commitment to yourself to keep working out and expanding, that understanding, because I needed to hear that today.
So glad. I'm so glad it helped. Yeah, definitely go. And I understand how you feel. At first you're like, oof, I'm like the oddball out doing like the weirdo exercises. Especially like every now and again, I still feel like a little weird, especially on leg day when everybody's like doing squats to warm up and I'm on my back in glute bridges, like that oddball out. But
It's so funny because from the perspective of the person that's watching, again, to me, I look at those people and I'm like, they know more than I do. Like they know what their body needs now, to whereas I'm like, is this right for me still? I'm only a year and a half in, but like, I mean, if that's the goal, is to get to know myself physically so that I can take care of myself until I'm 102. I've decided.
Yeah, good for you.
Well, thank you so much, Rebecca. I don't want to keep you any longer.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Stay cool, and I will see you soon.
I'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.
If you want to work out to what Rebecca likes to listen to, she said pick anything from the 80s and 90s, or show up at 5:30 and listen to Tara belt out the tunes while she trains. So, totally up to you. Have a great day.